up on exactly that and bring Jason Greenblatt back in. Thank you so much. I want to pick up on what we're just discussing, the Abraham Accords, and how you see the expansion of peace happening, given what we heard from the Israeli president just a short while ago in Congress. Your take?
I think President Herzog did an admirable job in Congress. He said all the right things, including addressing the Abraham Accords. Look, the Abraham Accords didn't spring forward overnight. It was a long time in coming, and it will be a long time in coming. There's a lot of work to be done. I think the Biden administration fell off the rails a little bit, the way they treated Saudi Arabia, and therefore there's going to be a lot of repair that needs to be done. They've started to make those repairs, but I don't think we're at the moment where Saudi Arabia is ready to sign some sort of accord with Israel. I do think we should give Saudi Arabia a lot of credit for the steps they've taken over the past couple of years in terms of relationships with Israel, including most recently allowing some Israeli gamers to be in Saudi Arabia under their Israeli passports. There is a lot of change coming, and we should not press the Abraham Accords, but press continued development on this very complicated path.
It is very clear there is a warm rapport between the two presidents. We've seen it not only today, but throughout this trip. But what do you make of the delay of more than 6 months before Joe Biden invited Benjamin Netanyahu to the United States? Confusion, too, over whether the invite is actually to the White House or not. How insulting is this? What message is the U.S. leader sending right now?
So I think it was a mistake. I think we all understand the difference between the prime minister's role and the president's role in the state of Israel. I think President Biden should have had Prime Minister Netanyahu at the White House. I think the invitation that he extended the other day should have been more clear as to timing, and it should be an Oval Office meeting. But I don't want to take away from President Herzog's admirable job. He did a great job in the Oval Office. His speech was fantastic. He hit all the right points. He didn't shy away from the Iran issue in any way, shape, or form. He didn't shy away from calling out the Palestinian leadership, terrorism, and things like that. He said all the right things, and he was very, very warmly welcomed both in the Oval and in Congress. And I think today, especially when you have haters in Congress, people boycotting the speech, Bernie Sanders, shame on him, and the other ones who I would have expected nothing less anyway, we need to send a message to the world that the U.S. relationship with Israel is indeed unbreakable. And I think President Herzog did a great job at that.
When we look at the judicial reform here in the country, much criticism, and something we were discussing here in studio a little bit earlier, is this something that the United States needs to get involved in? We're hearing references to friendships. We're hearing understandings of unbreakable bonds. Is this something that remains a local domestic issue and the Biden administration needs to stay out? Your thoughts?
I think we should stay out of it. It is a local issue, and it does show the robust democracy in Israel, the protests that are going on both sides, by the way. I think the American media has made much of it, and I think the Biden administration, if they want to say something privately, that's fine. But the focus that they've put on it, the constant focus, the constant reprimands to Israel, Israel is not a child. Israel is not a vassal state of the United States. I think we should be staying out of this very important but domestic issue for Israel.
And then to that exact point, what did you make of this rather strange development in which Thomas Friedman writes in the New York Times that Joe Biden had told Benjamin Netanyahu to stop rushing this judicial reform? It's something that Tzachi Hanegbi, the National Security Council head, disputes in terms of that report. But why wouldn't Joe Biden either tell the Israeli president or the prime minister directly exactly how he feels?
I think it'll come as no surprise to your viewers that Thomas Friedman and I do not share most of the same views when it comes to Israel, Palestinians, and things like that. Far from it. I think it's a strange article, and whether President Biden actually said those words or didn't, if he did, he shouldn't be lecturing Prime Minister Netanyahu. He certainly shouldn't be lecturing him through Tom Friedman. And I think that the New York Times ought to be changing their view on how Tom Friedman writes about Israel and the Israeli-Palestinian peace process, because I could tell you, as someone who lived that for 3 years, day in and day out, most of what he says is not up to date and is incorrect and is weighed in a very wrong way against Israel.
Lastly, if Donald Trump gets back into the White House again, despite the indictments, what would this mean for Benjamin Netanyahu? What would this mean for ties between Jerusalem and Washington? Briefly, please.
I think President Trump's feelings towards Israel are extremely strong. Clearly, he doesn't see eye to eye with Prime Minister Netanyahu on some issues, perhaps. I think the relationships might have been mildly strained toward the end or after his presidency, but I have no fear that he will develop a close rapport. Prime Minister Netanyahu is the leader in charge, and President Trump is the leader in charge. He believes in the state of Israel, the Jewish state of Israel. He supports the Jewish state of Israel, and I'm not concerned about the relationship at all.
Thank you so much, Jason Greenblatt, former White House Middle East envoy and author of the book In the Path of Abraham, How Donald Trump Made Peace in the Middle East and How to Stop Joe Biden from Unmaking It, live from New Jersey. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.